Welcome back to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed.
Mm-hmm.
We're here again, ready to cut through all the noise, sift through the sources for you, and really pull out those important nuggets of knowledge. Today, we are diving into something that's, well, it's fundamental to every single workplace, but it gets surprisingly complex when you really dig in. Occupational safety. We've pulled together quite a stack of great material, aiming to give you a fresh, insightful look at this really critical subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, this deep dive, it isn't just going to be about, hard hats and those high-vis vests we always see. We're
Right.
actually going to explore how occupational safety, well, it kind of permeates everything. Your individual well-being, productivity, sure, but also like national economies, even global supply chains.
Mhm.
It's a fascinating lens, really, to view a surprising amount of how our world actually operates.
Okay, so let's unpack this then.
Right.
At its core, occupational safety.
Yeah.
It's really all about creating environments where people can work, healthily and securely.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes way beyond just stopping physical injuries, right? It's just as focused on minimizing psychological risks, too.
That's a key point.
Yeah, think about it. It includes everything from, like, ergonomic workstation design, making sure that's right, to providing really specific scenario-based training and having solid emergency plans in place.
Right, the protocols.
Exactly. The main goal is to, well, pretty much eliminate accidents and those occupational diseases.
Mm.
And that leads to a much higher quality of life for workers, obviously, big boosts in productivity, and maybe most crucially, a real sense of peace and trust in the workplace.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how the ripple effects of good occupational safety, they stretch so far beyond just the individual employee.
Yeah.
It's definitely not just about what happens, on the factory floor or in the office space, if you consider its huge societal importance. Well, when workplaces are safe, it directly cuts down the strain on public health systems.
Okay, makes sense.
Fewer work-related accidents mean lower healthcare spending for everybody, and a big decrease in that economic drag you get from lost labor and rising insurance payments.
Kind of like the knock-on effects.
Exactly. And conversely, when a whole society really embraces a strong safety culture, you see these tangible boosts in national productivity that often leads to, better quality goods and services too.
Wow.
It genuinely fosters a healthier, more resilient society overall. It really does.
And it absolutely brings it back to that personal, that human element, doesn't it? We often
Yeah.
talk about the physical side, but the psychological impact of feeling safe at work.
Mm,
It's profound.
it really is.
I mean, when you know an organization genuinely cares about your well-being, it just dramatically reduces stress, anxiety, even that sort of low-level fear of getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that confidence, it isn't just like a nice to have. It actually frees up your mental energy.
Mm.
It boosts motivation,
Mm.
increases job satisfaction, and maybe surprisingly, it can even enhance creativity.
Yeah, that's interesting.
When your mind isn't half occupied with potential dangers, you can actually focus on innovation and solving problems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's where it gets really interesting for me. The role technology is now playing in preventing accidents. It's pretty cutting edge.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about things like advanced smart sensors, sophisticated wearable devices, specialized robot technologies. They aren't just reacting anymore. They're actively predicting and preventing incidents.
Proactive.
Exactly. Like some of these new smart hard hats. They can monitor a worker's vital signs, maybe detect fatigue or heat stress in real time, and actually alert them before they even realize they're at risk.
Wow.
And it's not just about warnings. You've got specialized robots doing more and more of the really hazardous jobs, like high-temperature areas or places with toxic gas exposure. Keeps humans completely out of harm's way.
And that tech advantage, it extends really powerfully into training as well.
How so?
Well, we're seeing immersive virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR environments, providing just incredibly realistic hands-on safety training.
It's like simulations.
Precisely. Imagine practicing, say, an emergency evacuation or handling a chemical spill, but in a totally simulated environment where any mistake becomes this powerful but completely risk-free learning opportunity.
That's huge.
And even more, you've got artificial intelligence, AI. It's not just running the simulations, it's crunching massive amounts of data from those sensors we just mentioned,
Okay.
identifying potential hazards, maybe even predicting accident hotspots before they even happen. It's a real shift from reactive safety to truly predictive prevention.
Okay, so technology is pushing things forward.
Hmm.
But what does this all mean when things, inevitably do go wrong sometimes? Let's talk about the long-term fallout from violating safety rules.
Right, the consequences.
Yeah. Beyond the immediate, terrible human cost of accidents and health problems,
Mm-hmm.
businesses face this whole cascade of negative outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking like plummeting productivity, obviously, but also astronomical hikes in insurance premiums, lawsuits that can really damage your brand, significant operational downtime.
Yeah, the costs add up quickly.
They really do. But maybe the most damaging thing, long term, it just systematically erodes employee morale and trust. If there isn't a genuine commitment to safety, you just can't build a strong safety culture.
True.
And that can lead to this sort of downward spiral.
Yeah.
More incidents, loss of good people right across the board.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it becomes really starkly clear how different occupational safety practices can be around the globe, especially between, say, developed and developing nations.
How big are the differences?
Well, generally, developed countries tend to operate with stricter rules, more robust government oversight, workers' rights are often better protected, and they usually have significantly larger budgets for safety stuff. Plus, they tend to have greater access to and integration of those advanced safety technologies you were talking about.
Right.
Now, contrast that with many developing nations where, maybe because of economic challenges or perhaps issues with educational infrastructure or just limited access to technology, they often end up with inadequate safety measures.
And that has real impact.
Absolutely. This isn't just an abstract difference on paper. These gaps directly influence how often accidents happen, how severe injuries are, and really how deeply a safety culture can actually take root within industries.
Okay, let's bring this right back to you, the listener, for a moment. What if, hypothetically, you found yourself in a workplace where safety felt, well, compromised?
That's a crucial question.
It is, and it's so important to remember you have real rights and also responsibilities. The first step, usually the most effective, is just to openly share your concerns with management. You know, a lot of issues can actually be resolved internally once they're brought to light.
Often, yes, communication is key.
But what if there's no real improvement? Or maybe the risk is immediate? Then, reporting the situation to the relevant authorities like OSHA in the U.S. or equivalent bodies elsewhere, it isn't just an option, it's often a legal and ethical necessity.
Yeah.
Employers have a clear, non-negotiable legal duty to protect their workers. And critically, remember this, you generally have the right to refuse unsafe work.
That's vital to know.
Absolutely. Pursue all the available legal channels until a safe environment is genuinely ensured. Your health, your well-being, they should never, ever be negotiable. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How do we proactively build a safety-first mindset? Not just react, but build it in.
Good question.
Well, I think it's incredibly important to start instilling occupational safety awareness really early on, from a young age.
Like in schools.
Exactly. Imagine kids learning about identifying hazards, assessing risks, basic safety protocols, not just occasionally at home, but consistently throughout their schooling. This kind of early education, it isn't just about, preventing playground accidents. It cultivates safe habits and a kind of proactive safety consciousness that they then carry into their adult working lives.
Right into their jobs.
And honestly, into every part of their personal lives, too. It's about building a generation that has an almost innate sensitivity to safety.
That makes a lot of sense. And it raises another important point. Beyond that early education piece, what are the really concrete advantages of having mandatory safety training in the workplace?
For everyone involved.
Yeah. For employees, obviously, it gives them the essential knowledge and, crucially, the practical skills to handle potential dangers, use specialized equipment correctly, know what to do in an emergency.
Right, the practical stuff.
Exactly. And that doesn't just cut down accident rates. It also significantly boosts their confidence on the job, their satisfaction, their overall motivation, really.
And for the employer.
Well, from the employer's side, these trainings, they're really a strategic investment. They translate pretty directly into lower insurance costs, a stronger compliance record, and, importantly, protection from legal liabilities. It just fosters a more secure and efficient operation all around.
Okay, zooming out again to the global perspective, the absolute necessity of having global occupational safety standards seems crystal clear when you put it all together.
Harmonization.
Yeah, these aren't just, bureaucratic guidelines floating around. They are crucial for aligning safety practices worldwide, making sure there's a baseline level of protection for workers, no matter where they happen to be on the planet.
Promoting equity.
Exactly that. It promotes a global sense of equity, and it strengthens safety practices across all sorts of diverse industries. And think about multinational corporations. These standards are vital for them to maintain consistent safety measures across all their international branches.
Consistency is key for them.
Right, which in turn improves their operational efficiency and contributes significantly to global economic sustainability and growth.
And thinking about recent events, consider how global crises, particularly the recent pandemics,
Mm.
have fundamentally reshaped how we even understand occupational safety.
Oh, definitely. That's been huge.
Hasn't it? Those events weren't just about the physical hazards we normally think of. They really highlighted the critical importance of hygiene, infection control, social distancing.
Yeah, health safety front and center.
Yeah. Exactly. It sort of seamlessly integrated health safety into the traditional scope of physical safety. They acted as this powerful catalyst, really compelling employers to prioritize employee well-being on a scale we hadn't seen before. It definitely accelerated the adoption of things like remote work solutions, and it really drove the development of more comprehensive, more agile, more data-driven safety approaches.
So there's an ongoing evolution.
Absolutely. This evolution is fundamentally shaping how we approach workplace safety, probably for decades to come.
Wow. What a deep dive today. We've covered so much ground from, the basic definition of occupational safety and its really deep psychological and societal impacts, all the way to the incredible role that cutting-edge tech is playing as a safety sentinel, the stark realities of those global disparities we talked about, and how our very understanding of safety just keeps evolving, especially through global challenges.
It really touches on so many areas.
It does.
So maybe, as you reflect on everything we've discussed in this deep dive, here's a final thought to maybe mull over. How might a deeper personal understanding of these occupational safety principles empower you, not just to protect yourself, which is crucial,
Right.
but also to maybe advocate for safer environments in every part of your life, maybe in your community, your personal projects, perhaps speaking up for others, really extending that awareness well beyond just the traditional workplace?